The silence before the storm is always the loudest. It was an ordinary afternoon at a quiet city bank when the glass doors burst open, and chaos shattered the calm. Masked men stormed inside with weapons raised, their voices cutting through the room like thunder, ordering everyone to the ground. Panic spread like fire. People screamed, clutched their children, dove under counters, and begged for mercy. Among them was a woman in her mid-30s, dressed simply, carrying nothing more than a worn leather purse and the weight of an ordinary life. To the robbers, she was just another name among the faceless crowd. To the trembling victims beside her, she was just another hostage caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nobody knew, least of all the gunman, that beneath her sleeve, inked into her skin, was a mark that carried an entire history of discipline, sacrifice, and unbreakable courage. It was a seal tattoo, a symbol not of pride but of survival, and when the leader of the gunmen caught sight of it, his world and his choices collapsed in an instant. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of hidden strength, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Legends of History. Your support helps us bring more powerful untold stories to life. Her name was Sarah Whitmore. To her neighbors, she was quiet, polite, and almost invisible, living a modest life that gave no hint of the storm she had endured. Years ago, Sarah had walked a path that demanded everything from her. Grueling training, endless trials, missions that tested not just her strength, but her soul. She had lived a life where fear could not be afforded, where every decision meant life or death, and where camaraderie was written in sweat and blood. Yet after years of serving in silence, she left that world behind, searching for peace in the ordinary, teaching community classes, volunteering at the library, tending a small garden. Her life was simple now, and she wanted it that way. But fate rarely respects the walls we build around ourselves. The robbery unfolded quickly, brutally. The men were organized but reckless, shouting threats, waving their weapons, forcing terrified tellers to empty drawers and vaults. Sarah, pressed against the cold floor with others, kept her breathing steady, her eyes scanning not in panic but with a soldier's precision. Old instincts stirred within her, the awareness of exits, the count of assailants, the placement of hostages. She wanted to stay invisible. She wanted for once to let the world spin without her intervention, but destiny rarely waits for permission. The leader of the gunmen moved through the crowd, ensuring obedience with the menace of his weapon. When he passed Sarah, something caught his eye. Her sleeve had slipped just enough to reveal a portion of the tattoo etched into her skin. His steps faltered. His breathing hitched. The mask hid his expression, but not his reaction. He froze. The gun lowered slightly as recognition hit him like a blow. He knew that symbol. He had seen it before, not in books or on screens, but in life. In another world, another time, when his path had crossed with warriors who bore that same mark. Sarah looked up, their eyes meeting for the briefest moment. She didn't need words to understand the storm inside him. His hand shook, not from power but from memory. In her silence, he saw something no bullet could erase: truth. The atmosphere shifted. The other robbers barked commands, urging their leader to hurry, but his grip faltered. Sarah's presence had pierced the armor of his rage. He was no longer just a gunman. He was a man torn between the path of destruction he had chosen and the shadow of honor he had once known. Perhaps he had served once, perhaps he had lost his way. Perhaps the tattoo dragged him back to a memory he had buried deep. But whatever it was, it stopped him cold. Sarah could have acted. She could have taken him down in a heartbeat, disarmed him, ended the threat. Every muscle in her body remembered the moves, the precision, the discipline. But she did not. Instead, she did something far more dangerous. She held his gaze, not with anger, not with judgment, but with a quiet strength that spoke louder than any command. She was telling him without words, "You don't have to do this. You can stop." The minutes that followed felt like hours. The other hostages stared, unaware of the silent war playing out between two people bound by a past no one else could see. The leader's mask slipped not from his face but from his soul. His weapon lowered further. His voice, once thunder, cracked into silence. And in that moment, surrounded by fear and chaos, Sarah's hidden strength ended the robbery without a single act of violence. When the police stormed in minutes later, the gunman surrendered with little resistance. The leader, still haunted by what he had seen, dropped his weapon first. None of the hostages understood why. But Sarah did. She knew she had not just stopped a robbery. She had stopped a life from spiraling deeper into darkness. In the weeks that followed, news outlets praised the mystery woman whose presence had shifted the tide, though her name was never released. Sarah returned to her quiet life, tending her garden, reading in the library, smiling politely at neighbors who never knew what she had done. She didn't need recognition. She had lived long enough to know that true strength was never about glory. It was about the lives saved quietly, the storms calmed without anyone ever knowing who stood in their path. And somewhere in a prison cell, the leader of the robbery replayed that moment over and over, the moment he saw a tattoo that reminded him of honor, of discipline, of a life he had lost. He thought about the woman who could have destroyed him, but instead chose to save him from himself. That memory would become the turning point of his life. Sometimes, the most powerful battles are not fought with fists or weapons, but with silence, compassion, and the unshakable strength of someone who refuses to let another soul be lost forever. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Legends Off History. Your support helps us continue to tell stories that remind the world of the hidden courage within ordinary lives. Special request to comment. Tell us in the comments if you believe one moment of compassion can truly change a life forever.